Xavier, today, Corny Camp Skills, I'm going to teach you how to select hiking boots or hiking shoes. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Let's start, if you're going to be hiking, it depends on what you're going to do. So like we've got from one level of, the easiest kind of trails, if you're on a flat trail, like where do you go with mom sometimes?
Okay.
Yeah, where it's nice and flat, and you bring the dog and it's easy. You don't really need a hiking boot for something like that. It's gravel and that. So even a running shoe you could get away with. And then we go all the way to the other extreme where you want a nice, big, hard, insulated plastic boot for doing mountaineering, high altitude, where it's cold, super cold and stuff. So we got all the in-betweens, and I'll explain to you what you're looking for. All right? So when you got a shoe or a boot, there's there's like the pivot point. So when we walk, our foot turns like that. So you want to look at the pivot point. So like if you look at a running shoe, when you fold it, like the whole thing folds over, right? So it's very lightweight and that doesn't have a whole bunch of support. And also you want to look at your torque. So you can torque it like that. So this shoe, what it'll do is it'll be great for level ground and stuff like that, where you don't have big rocks or stuff like that. It's perfect, You don't have to go out and buy something super expensive and whoop-de-doo there. This will do for flat surfaces, for walking on, prepared areas and that. But you saw that torque, eh? So
yeah.
You can torque it and that. If you were going to wear this somewhere where it's more hilly, more rocks and stuff like that, your foot's going to get tired. And also the traction is not super for stuff like that. It's not an aggressive traction. So your foot will get tired, your foot will get sore. Like we have an approach shoe, like a hiking shoe and an approach shoe. So try it. Try the, see the bendy on it? No, the bend like that. You see it doesn't bend like the running shoe did. And it's got a bit more resistance on the torque side. And it's got a bit more aggressive pattern on the shoe. So that'd be stuff where you've got a bit of hills and you've got a bit of rocks in it and that, a bit more. And then you go to a proper boot. Okay, try the same thing with the boot. Now do you see the difference on the torque? It torques a bit, but not as much as the running shoe. And then when you bend it, you notice that the bend, it's the whole, instead of just the foot going, it's the whole part of the boot that turns. So it's more rigid. There's stuff in there that makes the sole more rigid, and the lugs on the bottom are a bit more aggressive. So you're going to feel less, if you're walking on pointy rocks and that, you're going to feel that less on your feet, and this way your feet will get less tired. But there's always, a give off. If it's really hot out and that, a boot like this will be warmer on your feet than a shoe like that. It's super hot out. Okay? So there's always throw-offs also there that you got to use. I prefer a high boot to a lower shoe because I've noticed that I got a bit of weak ankles, and when I'm going in places that are really rocky and that, I want a bit more protection on my upper foot than a shoe. But if you have strong ankles and strong feet, shoes will do for you, kind of thing. But me, I prefer this. And I learned the hard way also. The shoe construction is really important. So there's what you call the cup, where your heel goes in. If you got a shoe that's cheap or not well made, your heel is kind of rounded too, eh? So when you put your foot in here, it makes this pocket that holds the bottom of your foot. If the shoe's not well made, it doesn't have that pocket, and your heel can move around. So if you go off angle a bit, you can slide off and roll your ankle. It's got a good pocket, it'll hang on to it. I just threw an army boot in there to show the difference. Try that one out. And you can see that one's a lot like the hiking boot, eh? Okay. And then we get into a mountaineering one. Try this one. So this is a light mountaineering boot. It's got an aggressive lug pattern on the bottom, a very hard sole. Can you bend it?
No.
I can bend it, but just a bit. And can you get any torque out of it?
No.
Not a lot. So this is going to protect your feet from the rocks and the hardness that you're going to be working on. But are these heavier?
Yes.
It's a bit heavier, so it's going to be heavier on your foot. So if you're in the mountains and that, you got to be ready. If you're walking with these on all day long, it's a one construction piece of leather. If you've noticed, like if you look at these boots, there's seams everywhere and sewing, and the same thing with this, there's seams and that. If you look at this, there's no seams at all. It's one piece of leather, and the only place that there's a seam is in the back. So it's a very rugged boot. It's a heavy boot. Okay, so if you're doing some heavy mountaineering, some serious mountaineering, well, not heavy, it's some mountaineering, this would be your boot for you. But it's not insulated. So I would wear this in the mountains in the summertime. Right? Then if I go into the mountains in the wintertime, I'd wear a boot like this.
I assume this is insulated?
So this is insulated, yeah. It's an insulated boot. It keeps your feet warm, and that's got no torque whatsoever. And you know something? Surprisingly enough, the newer boots, they're not as heavy. Like, I think they weigh about the same.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. This one has insulation. So newer technology, the weight's not so bad, but still, it's a heavy boot, an aggressive lug and that. So it's made for winter big mountains. Like I wore these on Mont Blanc. That would be a good place to wear them. And then you go into the bigger extreme, the plastic boot. This will have no torque whatsoever, okay, and no bend.
Gosh, it's solid.
It's solid, and it has a liner that you can take out.
It's more like a ski boot.
Exactly. So that's what it's made for a bit. You know, if you're ice climbing or you're mountaineering, these are great. They'll save your leg. They're really heavy, but they'll save your legs and that. They're very warm, but I wouldn't want to walk on
long distances
on a flat surface. It'll become very tiresome to the front of your legs and all that. So hopefully this gives you a bit of information if you're going out there and you want to select something, right? So easy trails, you don't really need a serious boot or nothing if you're going on a trail. Same kind of thing, a bit more, not good hiking boots, and then we're getting into the more serious mountaineering ones. I wanted to show you something, okay? Let's go to the front here, and I wanted to show you when you're trying your boots on. When you're going to try your shoe on, you want to make sure, of course, it's got to be comfortable. Like when you go to the store and try boots on, you want them to be comfortable. Now here's a trick. Once you put the boot on, well, and when you're going to go to the store to select your shoes or your boots or whatever you're going to buy, wear the socks that you're going to be when you're hiking, okay? So when you get your shoe on, lace it all up and good and that, and then tap your toe 3 times. 1, 2, 3, like that. And on the third hit, your toes should be not smashing into the front of your boot. If your toes are smashing into the front of the boot, that means the boot's not good for you. It's either too big, okay, and your feet are sliding around in it. Either go down half size or try a different boot. And also walk around the store. You can do that. They'll be okay. Walk around the store, see if it feels okay. Because a good pair of boots will cost you a lot of money, and you don't want to spend a lot of money on boots that you don't like. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's it. Did you learn something?
Yes. That you have many weapons for when you tell me that you want that you're gonna put a foot up my ass.